guess what this would be? In news that will surprise nobody. It's not a Woody, but we're going to call it a Woody because it's not a proper RMC. Yeah, alright you guys, let's go ahead and address this elephant in the room because I've made a mistake. But either way, we've got ourselves an RMC in the park, so let's talk about that instead. This is my official request for a sign for Gunslinger. Happy days, I'm down for not doing as much work on it. Today's episode is brought to you by Nerd Chacho's dishwasher. Hey everybody, how's it going? So thanks for coming along to episode number 10 of ChachoLandia. If you found us in the last couple of weeks, of course you are absolutely welcome here. I don't know where you guys are coming from, but apparently your likes and comments are all finding us a new audience, so you're welcome aboard. And guys, of course, thank you for coming and hanging out with me in the premiere chat on a Sunday so early. I really, really do appreciate everything that you guys do. So here we are then, the RMC. The RMC that went horribly wrong last episode. Yes, it's all done and dusted and fixed and everything. So this is where we were working in the last episode. So we're coming over here for this episode. We're coming to the back end of the park. We're going for a launch coaster this time. Now, I wonder, what won the vote? Alright then you guys, so for the second week in a row we've got ourselves a bit of a Frankenstein hybrid coaster situation going on, but this week it's for a very, very different reason. The vote winner last week was the Intamin Accelerator, but of course you guys then were sending feedback saying, well, the Accelerator wouldn't have been around when the park opened, so it would probably have been the Blitz. That creates us a problem because it went to the vote and that won. And yeah, thanks guys. They don't exist in the game, so what do? Well, the answer is you can use the Infinity Coaster type and swap it out for the Invincible Trains. There you go. Job done. This is the closest we're going to get to an Intamin Blitz. The actual coaster type itself that I wanted to use for Velocicoaster doesn't exist in game. I'll go through my thought processes and the reasons for that in the extras episode. I won't bore you with that here. But what we've got is the circa 2017 Blitz model that you would see on Taiga or Taron at Phantasialand. So that's what we've got here. We're very much going for the theme of this one around, I'm going to butcher someone's language, probably German. It's Krake, whatever. It's the dive coaster at Cedar Park. And I'm also going to borrow a little bit from Battle Galleons at Alton Towers for the theme here as well. So I want this to be pirate themed, and I want this area here to be the castle. And then I'm going to do some other area theming around here. But this is going to be next episode. I'll go through I'll talk about that at the end of this episode, right? So let's go for a tour then. So here we go. Invincible trains with oh god, I can't even talk, guys. Cheers then. Invincible trains on the Infinity track, and I'm not even drunk. So so we're going to leave the station, we're going to come round into the first bend, and then we're going to enter into a holding brake here. Now, if you are doing this kind of thing, just remember that your holding brake has to be as long as your train. If it's not, you're going to be launching trains from the bend, and you're going to be putting your back rows through so much hell. So I've been guilty of doing this wrong so many times up until this point. So yeah, it has to do that. And then of course we're going to launch, and these are magnetic fins, right? So these are actually really, really interesting because they're magnetic, or magnets. There's a magnet that sits on the bottom of the train, and that then repels the magnets that are on the actual launch section itself. And of course, the stronger the magnets, or the magnets get stronger as the launch goes on, and that causes more repulsion, and then that causes the train to speed up, and it's trying to get away from the rest of the magnets, right? And that's what causes the acceleration. Now, these are awesome because you can pre-program them. So they're all done by electromagnets. They're I can't say coded because it's not code that runs it, but they're pre-programmed with a certain strength, which means that they can operate without there being an electrical current. And that's also the same for the brake fins as well. So obviously we don't have magnetic ones on here because the coaster type has some trade-offs that we need. But the magnetic brakes work in exactly the same way. They don't need power in order for them to run, and this actually makes them very safe when it comes to power cuts. But they are connected to power usually because Just like the B&Ms that weigh the trains and alter the speed lift hill speed based on the weight of the trains, these coasters do exactly the same for the launch. It can adjust the magnetic forces to match the speed of the train so that the train completes the circuit in the perfect amount of speed and G-forces, and you have full control over that way. But if there is a power cut halfway through, the train doesn't just stall, it just goes back to what it's pre-programmed to do, and then it will make it round the track, hopefully. Still with me? Does that all make sense? Comments below, guys. Did I mess that explanation up? So anyway, we're going to come into our first Immelmann down this way. And then we come into an airtime hill. And this is just a mess of a coaster, by the way. This is like proper, full-on steel everywhere. And this is exactly as I wanted it to be. So airtime hill, an ejector airtime hill at that. And then we go into some real twists and turns. So we're going to come round at almost like a 90-degree angle. And new Intamins, they don't level out the train at the top of certain hill crests. They actually continue the banking as it goes down the actual hill. So if you watch it as it's coming around now, you'll see that it's already descending before it levels out. So just remember that. It creates like some forces and everything that you can have. Into a real small bunny hop, like an airtime pop, an ejector airtime pop, and then into another bend. And this is a snake bend down. So we're coming around the top, snake bend down, and then into around the whatever. It's just lots of bends, lots of twists and turns. And then we're going to come into a dive loop. Yes, I've got it right this week. It's a dive loop. So it's coming to a dive loop. And then it comes into another airtime pop, and then round the corner, and then comes into our, into our second launch. And now our second launch actually has the very typical top hat element, and these top hats on the new Blitz coasters, they're such a weird shape. I did so much research into this that unlike the launch coasters, the accelerators, you know, like Stealth and King Dakar and whatever, that are completely vertical, these sort of push back at the same time. So I don't know if you can really see it from the top here, but it pushes back a little bit. So they end up with this really weird shaping. So it is what it is. I don't have any design experience as to why they are like that, but this is the correct profiling of one of these top hats. I've taken it from Taiga. Yeah, it is what it is. And then we come into a turnaround here, into a 0G, and then it comes around into another snake pass. But again, remembering that we're really seriously banking these as you're going up to 90, if not further, degrees banking. Then it comes underneath the launch sections, which I don't know how they're going to be themed yet. Not a clue. Haven't even thought about this. Into an airtime hill, into another snake pass. Again, seriously banked snake passes because they are so tight. Think of the forces that you're going to get on this bad boy. Into another Immelmann. Lots of Immelmanns on these types of coasters. You don't tend to find many other. Yeah, it's just loads of Immelmanns and 0G rolls. Then you come around into another tight turn, into another airtime pop, and then into the final brake run. So, of course, you could probably look at this and say, is it an Intamin? Is it a Mack? Does it really matter? It is what it is. They are very, very similar when you look at the specification sheets. The track is the same, a very similar shape. The inner workings are very similar. The trains are very similar. It's almost like one is infringing on the other's copyright, but changing it just enough to not fall foul of the law. So I'm going to do some more research so I can give you some more interesting facts. I'm going to do some more decorating, and I'll see you in a minute. Here we go then, guys. It's time for an update, and you can probably see there's quite a lot to talk about. You can see loads and loads and loads of changes. I've had to do quite a lot of work to bring this into this kind of update, just because there was lots around the outside that needed doing. And of course, you can see that this is the sort of sightline that we get here. Look at that weird shaped top hat. It's just, oh, it's so good. Of course, you know I'm pretty much stealing the design for Cracker at Cedar Park, and so this is kind of coming across really, really, really nicely. And this is how everything is looking from the top now. You can just see just how much of it I'm stealing, but how much of it is really, really coming together. So, interesting fact time. Did you know that the Intamin Blitz fell out of favour because of Mack and RMC coming along creating better coasters? So they wanted to reinvent the Blitz model because it was still popular. You know, they're still world beating in the likes of Taron and Taiga and everything. but they couldn't compete with the inversions and the transitions that RMC could do. So what they had to do was reinvent the track so it was a little bit more versatile. It also meant as well that with the reinvention of the track, they could actually use less steel, so it makes it cheaper to manufacture. And it makes it just that little bit more appealing to a park that's looking for a big scale coaster. Because if you think that in a track layout that's like this, you would actually probably use about a third less steel than you would do with this design. So yeah, it makes absolute sense, right? And the idea of using magnetic launches rather than the cable launches is it reduces a lot of maintenance because they can be pre-programmed, they can be pre-done with electricity, they don't have to be constantly powered, they don't have to have hydraulic fluid, which is really expensive. You don't have to replace the cable after a certain number of launches and all of the usual stuff that comes with launch coasters. So yeah, there's some more interesting facts for you, but let's actually have a look at the design stuff because you guys like this as well. So we're going to start with the gift shop because this is probably the most, or one of the most pulled together areas. So I wanted it to almost look like it was, what on earth was that? There's nothing here to cause that noise. What is it? Oh, I don't know what it is. Hang on, we're going to investigate. Oh, I bet it's one of... I bet it's one of the things I've used on the wall that I've not set to trigger. Guys, that was like a ghost. Anyway, so I wanted the... I'm going to find it. So sorry, we need to get back on track. So the inside of the shop I wanted to be a little bit like in the inside of a boat, as if you're on a galley, because you're going to be leaving the safety and the comfort of the. That's really distracting. I'm sorry. You're going to be leaving the safety and the comfort of the ride station, which is like the castle area. So this is what I've done here, but this is a big shop. This is a ride that would process thousands and thousands of people a day. It's going to be like the star of the park, so of course your gift shop would want to have that kind of feel to it. And so this ride photo booth, I wanted to demonstrate as being one of those poorly designed areas within a park. You know, sometimes you go to a park and you just think, why did they take the design decision to put that there? That just doesn't make sense. And so I wanted that to come into play here, where we go, yeah, so you're ploughing loads of people through. When you look from the top, you've got people that are leaving the shop down this way and they're having to come through this way. They could completely pass the ride photo booth without even seeing it. Now, we could put the ride photo booth here, but that's too much logic. So I did want there to be an element of really bad design in this. So this is done deliberately, right? So I don't want you to think, oh god, you've just done that and now you're saying that. This is completely deliberate. And I also wanted this to be functional as well, so that you can see, also that you can be used as actual shops. So this is what this area does. This area does here. This wall just came together completely accidentally. I was playing around with the fences and these... I don't even know what they're called. Trapdoors. They're called a trapdoor. So I was playing around the fences and the trapdoor with these pillars, and it just created this awesome bamboo effect on the walls. And I thought, oh, I'm going to use that. That would look so good inside the station. So that's what I did. I've used it inside the station. And it just gives this effect, especially when you think that the ceiling for this station is going to be here on top of these beams, right? So you're essentially just going to be looking at this here. So this station is pretty much done from the inside. I just need to do the roof and a little bit of detailing for ThemeMaker's Toolkit. But you're going to come down the queue line area and through the door, and then... There we go. And then you choose your row. So there's 14 rows that you can choose from. You just go down and you go down and queue that way. So that's what I've done with the station. So the idea is this is supposed to be a bit of a fort, and then you're leaving via the boat this way. And so for the queue line, I wanted this to be another really compact queue line, but my original design idea that I had was far too similar to the Pendle Peak queue line that we had, where there was a building in front here, and then there was a cowpen queue line behind, and then you were trapped in by another building, which incidentally is the maintenance area. But I've actually opened this up really nicely, and the sight line from here, when the queue line is going to be full, is actually going to be really awesome. It's going to be just a mess of people. And I've taken the design decision to use cheap fencing on the inside as well, purely because the way that I see this, that you'd come out of this building into this cattle pen at the front here, and then it comes around here, and then on quieter days this whole middle section wouldn't be used. This bit would be opened up and you'd come down here, so you're experiencing the expensive fencing the entire time. You just know you've got a really bad day if they've opened up this extended queue line. It's a little bit like the nemesis at Alton Towers queue line. You know that if they've opened the extended queue, it's bad times. And so the start of the queue here, this is where the fast pass queue is going to be. So you enter here, you come immediately into the building this way, which I actually just need to put the fence in here, but you immediately come in through this way, and then you come around, and then that's the fast track, or you come around this way for the main queue. So this queue then does line alongside, and quite nicely alongside, the maintenance area. Maintenance area is kitted out as you would imagine. The only difference with this one to all of the other maintenance areas is that this has space in the roof for a lift. So the idea is that you would pull the train down this way and you lift them off car by car, and then you would lift them onto the back of a van that would be parked here. That van where they drive off and go wherever it needs to go. But yes, so I've done everything along this way, and I've also just put, this isn't a desk, this isn't meant to be a desk, it's meant to be a workspace that's at the same level as the trains, so that you can just pull things off and put them straight on to here without having to do too much lifting. So that's the idea of this, and so that's what these are supposed to represent, the unpainted trains and the unpainted seats and everything along here. But of course you would rest stuff on this, like, you know, the computers, and you just throw things on there because it just becomes an unofficial workspace, but it is an unofficial workspace. And then I've just put the fluorescent lights along the side here and also along the top here. And for this one I've done it slightly differently. I've used the white smooth concrete walls for this one, exactly as I actually wanted it to be. And so when we come into the ride area itself, so this is the transfer mechanism. It's a nice and simple transfer mechanism. It's just one that would slide down this way and it creates a path in here. There is enough room here because it bends round as a curve here, so you don't actually need to worry that this corner cuts into the transfer track because the track is here, right? So it's just a space-saving way of having a transfer track. And then the idea, so I'm really struggling with this theme, especially when it comes to here. I already know what the name of the coaster is, somebody who's already won the vote at this point, and the idea of a theme is it's supposed to be able to tell a story without it needing to be explained to you, and I'm struggling with that aspect. But what I have done is I've made this almost like it's a pier or a galley, and I've done that on both sides of the launch. So I'm relatively happy with how this launch looks and how it behaves and how it rides, but I'm still just a little bit struggling with how to bring in the final theme of the ride, the name of the ride. So yeah, it's all coming together, and of course the theming and everything is starting to come in around here. I need to do all of the rock work, I need to do the landscaping, I need to do the stuff that all sits inside the ride area. I haven't fenced it off yet, I haven't completed the path that comes around here, so there's lots and lots and lots to do. The last thing then to talk about in this update is the custom supporting and the craziness that came with it. So these top hats have the weirdest supporting. So I've actually ended up using the plans from Taiga on this one, because as you know the top hat is based on Taiga's, and I've had to put an extra one in here because of the land mass. Taiga sits on a slightly different land shaping, so it's actually got this one's got 4 pillars as opposed to Taiga's 3, but they have a really weird A-frame shaping supporting mechanism. It's just weird. When you look at Stealths, for example, at Thorpe Park, which is just essentially one support, this just feels really weird. And then I posted some screenshots of this 0G roll from the shop down here, and obviously it had no supports. So I've just put the custom supports in along here. I've removed all of the extra supports that aren't needed, and then replaced supports where they are needed replacing because the supports in game just weren't that realistic. So here, for example, I've added in some extra stuff, and I've actually smoothed the track again, by the way. This is why we've got these weird out of place ones, so I need to fix that. But yeah, the last thing I'm going to talk about with supports is that I've put all of the concrete supports above the waterline, because that's what you tend to find when you have a coaster that's in the water. Planet Coaster doesn't put those supports on top of the waterline. It just leaves you to your own devices. So just for added realism, I've just added those supports in so they poke out of the water. And the reason that you do that is so that the water doesn't start rotting or rusting the actual joins that you've got here from the coaster support and the connectors to the concrete. So you keep them above water wherever you can. Right, so I'm going to carry on and finish this off. Let's see how that turns out. Alright then, you guys, it's that time. It's done for now stamp time. And I say for now because I'm going to be doing a lot of work in next week's episode to bring the food stalls and the supporting rides and maybe a show if I can muster it. So that's going to be next week's episode. But so this week's episode is just focusing solely on this coaster. We do have a name. Red Nebula, this one is thanks to you on the community tab. You won the vote this week. It's called the Kraken, and so yes, this is the finished article. You're going to notice down here that there's something a little bit missing. We have no ride sign, and that's okay. I've invited Spike to do a ride signing because everything is unlocking after lockdowns over here in Europe. Spike is still working on the sign, which is absolutely fine. I've said that take your time. There's absolutely no hurry. It'll go in when it's ready because the quality of the signs that Spike does are just insane. Absolutely worth waiting for. So take your time, pal. It will go in when it's done. So this is the ride. This is the biggest thing that you'll notice has changed. We have a splash zone, and I wanted the splash zone to be put in so that we can interact with the ride in some capacity. This is by far going to be the park's signature ride. So we've got triggers and we've got effects going on, and the idea of this being fighting with the Kraken and just trying to escape the Kraken, being a mythical beast. This is why it doesn't appear in this theme. You're sort of like running around the waves and everything. This splash zone just had to make sense. It's the boat running past the crowds and everything, trying to get past a monster that doesn't even exist. They've made it up. So that's where this is. So where should we start? Let's do the queue line. So the queue line then I have made a little bit more interactive. I've just added some final details to this. And of course we've got bins and benches and lamps and stuff everywhere. But I've added the queue covers. So in the cattle pen of hell, I've added the queue covers so that it's not so hideous when you are in the extended queue line, which these guys actually are. Sorry about that. So you're going to run past the maintenance shed, and then you're going to come up into the outside of this building. And I've just done some touching up along this side. Lots of foliage, lots of rocks, and lots of things to bring it to life. Detailing and everything on the outside. I found, since the last update, I found these poles. They're actually, ironically, the Zadra poles from Energylandia. So I just added those in as a bit of a high fence, purely because this is a bit of a drop, and you don't really want people to be running into or jumping over the fence and stuff. So I've just decided to put a fence up there so that we can keep the guests safe. And we're going to come into the station then, and I'm just going to get a better camera angle. One moment. There we go. Better camera angle. So I've come into the actual station itself then, and I've taken a little bit of inspiration actually from the Colossus station at Thorpe Park, in the sense that you've got all of the rows and everything on the top. You've got the decoration on the walls itself, and you've also got the baggage hold as well. So I kind of wanted to take some influence in that from there, because that's an Intamin as well, right? So it's kind of set a precedence for how an Intamin station would actually look. So you come in, you board the trains, but you have to climb over the uncomfortable trains to put your bags in a baggage hold. Great station design. Well done. And then we come over here where we've got the console. Please forgive the fact that the guy is clipping through the wall pieces. It is what it is. We can't do anything about that, especially if you want to have the wall decorated. But the whole takeaway from that is the inside of here is looking like a control booth would look in here. And then of course we've got our station staff and all of the final details and everything that come in here. And I've also just done some detailing underneath the track as well, just to allow some of the electrics and everything to be detailed and to be represented in this build. And so once you come off of the ride, you exit via the gift shop, and of course we come out this way. I don't know if the guests are going to walk through here. There is a barrier underneath here to try and stop them. Let's find out. Are they going to walk round? Looks like they are. Well done, guys. Compliant guests. That's what we like. Okay, so you're going to come through the mess of gift shop stuff where you're going to walk through all of the shelves. That's fine, guys. Just don't look. It's cool. Carry on. There's the shops and everything that we actually wanted to have. And then, hey, ride photos. What episode is not complete without ride photos? So yeah, grab your photos here. But like I say, I wanted this one to be a little bit awkwardly placed. I didn't actually want it to be too monetized, because this felt like this was a shop that would just be so busy anyway that you wouldn't miss your ride photos. And what you typically tend to find is if you do have a good coaster, ride photos will sell themselves. People will actively seek them out. You'll only tend to find ride photo opportunities that are obviously placed for rides that just try and monetize as much as possible, but the ride itself wasn't actually that good. Have that in mind. And so we're going to come out this way then into the main plaza area, and this is how it looks from the guest view. So this is this is what you see when that was good timing. I couldn't do that again if I tried. Right, there we go. There's the splash zone. I soaked them. Oh, I wish the guests interacted with stuff like that, because that would be such an awesome feature. Anyway, this is what you see from the guest view, just this absolute twisted mess of track, but not all of it either. So this is just only part of the track that you're going to see. The rest is very, very well hidden behind other bits of foliage and rocks and everything. So, but you do get some awesome views of things like the top hat and the 0G roll and the Immelmans and everything. So you get a fairly good idea as to what this ride actually stands for, right? So, yeah, love it, love it, love it. And then, of course, we've got the foliage and everything that's around the outside here. And I've just added in some extra detailing to things like the coaster support footers, and also the bits around the ride here and the foliage. Now this is where the biggest change has happened, this bit in the middle. So I've always wanted to have this 2-level lake, but in order to make it make sense, I needed to have some kind of barrier in the middle. Now the reason why it's like this is because the ride is on 2 levels, and the water level and the ground level, if I were to have it on 1 level, would be too low here. So I wanted this to have a certain depth so that it's safe and everything. But in order to achieve that, you have to have this break here. So I wanted this to be a waterfall effect. So it's almost like the water is being circulated, right? So you have water that's being pumped into this top lake, and then it overflows into this bottom lake, and then it means that you've got 2 bodies of water that you can actually work with to have some really decent, cool effects going on. So that's what we're going for in here. And then I've just done a little bit of touching up work onto the launch section pieces. I added in you know these logs that you get from the Western set. I've actually added them along the bottom here, and it just gives it a bit more bulk. It gives it a bit more, feels a bit more sturdy in this area. So that's what I wanted, especially as these would also be used as escape platforms and evacuation platforms. I think I need to sleep on it and actually do some more work to it. It feels like there's still something missing, but I don't know what that's going to be. I need to play out the rest of the area to see if there's some kind of inspiration and stuff that's going on. But hey, that's fine. Done for now. Let's cope with it. Let's deal with it. And then we're going to come into the maintenance shed then. So again, just a little bit of touching up and some detailing work going on in here. The roof is obviously now in, and with that comes just a little bit of tidying up and a little bit of tweaking, few additions. So I put the cranes and stuff in here. But like I say, I'm keeping this nice and simple. No windows. You're not allowed to look out when you're working. Sorry. This is not that kind of park. Don't let you enjoy your job. So yeah, and then this is how it looks then from the guest view from this side. I just like how open and exposed this queue line is, right? So you can actually look in and see how busy the ride actually is, and just get a feel for the queue and just the sheer depth and hell that this queue is going to be when you join it. But the ride is worth it, so that's all that matters. So this is everything from the top. Now in the next episode, what I would like to do, it's not going to be a coaster, so there's no poll for that or anything going up. I'm just going to spoilerize that right now. No coaster next week. We need supporting attractions. We need shops. We need to tidy up this area. We need to do this area down here. And we also, I think I just want to tidy up this area. This is now starting to bug me. So, especially as we're starting to come to almost towards the end of the park, it feels like this area now needs to be completed. So that's going to be my focus for next week. This one, this area down here, and this area up here. So let's pop some glamour shots in here so you can see this in a bit more action. But guys, thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. You know I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Just to let you know, next week's episode is my actual birthday. So it would be awesome if you can come along to that. I'm going to take the week off after that, so next week will be the last episode before my week off. So please come along and say hi as part of the Premier chat and everything. You know I love hanging out with you guys, and I love talking to you guys in the community tab and everything. So yeah, thank you so much for your support. Leave a like, leave a comment. You know what to do. It seems to be working. We're finding new people every week, and absolutely every single one of you is welcome. So thank you for getting to the end of the video. I'm going to stop waffling now. Let's just go ahead and take a ride on this beast. Thank you so much. See you soon.